Where was I? Oh, so I'm doing this class on current issues in leadership studies. And one of the topics, sort of up and coming emerging topics in leadership studies, is this idea of arts and aesthetics in leadership. And there's several approaches to looking at that, but the gist of it is that, well, there's several gists to it, but one of the gists is that, creativity is something that artists thrive on. And if you guys create art in any way, you know this, right? If you paint, if you create music, if you write poetry, I know we have a lot of creative students in our school, and I assume a lot of you have creative abilities as well. But creating things sort of requires a different approach. It requires a little more intuition, a little more flexibility, a little more reflexivity between our environment and our feelings and what's going on. And, so artistic creation, I really think is, part of God's, part of God's image. I mean, we serve a creative God. And what was the very first thing that we read about God doing in the Bible? He created something, right? So if we're made in God's image, then we too are creative beings. So this idea of artistic expression has kind of made its way into thinking about leadership. And, when you think about what leaders do a lot is they come up with creative solutions to problems. And because leadership, we talked about earlier on in this class, really is about making our way into the future, about creating vision, about creating meaning and purpose for people, about helping organizations align around common cause and common important things. And so there's sort of this thinking about the intersection between the arts and leadership that's really kind of interesting. As leaders, we are creative people. We create things. We sort of create a vision of something for our ministry, our organization, creating something out of nothing, in a sense. Not out of nothing. We're not God, ex nihilo. We don't create out of nothing, but we use resources. We harness people's energy and expertise and energy, ability and commitment and all those sorts of things to help us create an organization or a ministry that is useful and meaningful. So I really was struck by this idea of creativity. And, some of our students I gave them an option to do a discussion post on, a creative expression that reflects creativity in their leadership. And several of them decided to write about some things that they're doing in response to our current situation. One of the gals, she wrote a really good post, and maybe I'll share it with you guys. I'll get her permission to share it. But she wrote a poem on, it's called For Now. And it was very hopeful because she said, basically, for now, we're homebound. For now, we're isolated, blah, blah, blah. But this is a season that we're going through, and God has great things, and God is going to redeem the for now. And in hindsight, we will see what he's doing, and we'll all grow through this. And so we can all have hope in this season. Another student talked about what they did for Easter. I asked you guys last week, I said, did you guys do anything creative for Easter, And he gave me a really good response. He's a children's minister at a, kind of a medium-sized church around here. And he said what they did was they did a drive-by Easter egg hunt. And they created pictures of big eggs, colorful eggs, and each of the eggs had like a scripture verse on it or something about Jesus. It was kind of related to the resurrection and all that. And they have a lot of windows in their church, and so they put them in different windows, and they asked the parents to drive through with their kids to find all the different eggs and to kind of retell the story that they were seeing through the different things. So it was kind of a drive-by, curbside Easter egg hunt. And he said so many people were just blessed by that, the response they've gotten afterwards from the parents and, even the old people who were homebound, kind of got in the cars and drove through and just, like tears in their eyes that the church would come up with this creative way to, still celebrate the purpose of Easter. And I thought, gosh, what a great creative expression, artistic expression to respond to a current situation. So I just kind of wanted to pass that along to you, just kind of by way of a starter this morning. I know it's a bit of a bunny trail, but, think creatively. Think about, doing things in new and different ways. And I think this season is kind of forcing us all to be creative, right? I mean, what we're doing right now is a creative response to being able to not being able to gather. And I think, hopefully this thing doesn't last forever, but even as we go through this, as we go into the future, think of yourself as a leader, as an artist of sorts. You're creating something that doesn't exist. You're using the capacity, creativity, resources that God has given you to create something new in order to give people meaning and hope and purpose, and of course to share the gospel and to bring people closer in relationship with Jesus, discipleship, all those things that are important to us in church ministry, right? All right, so I'm appointing you guys, I'm encouraging you guys, I'm exhorting you guys to be creative leaders who help think of new ways to do things so that God may be glorified. So